Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Uh, all our videos are on the web at ntnm.org. National Night Out is coming the very first Tuesday in August, and please participate to support your local police. It is a pleasure to reintroduce you to somebody who gave a great Marty Levinson, as well as the Director of Advocacy Outreach for the Illinois Opportunity Project, Danielle Rowe. Danielle, how you doing?
Hi, Avi. Doing well. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Good to see you. And I actually did attend one of your events last week, and it was very interesting. The Illinois Opportunity Project is, you had, well, on the stage you had Dan Proft, who's one of the founders.
Yeah.
And you had Pat Hughes, who's one of the founders. Actually, Dan Patlick, who's been on the show as Pat Hughes, is not one of the founders. He's actually a member of the Cook County Board of Review, or a commissioner. And of course, the other founder is John Tillman, who's also involved with the Illinois Policy Institute.
Correct.
So now that particular, what was the purpose of that particular event?
Well,
Which was very well attended, by the way.
Thank you, Avi. We worked with local leaders like Charlene Foss-Eggeman and Susan Sweeney and Jim O'Donnell. All have run for political office in the past in their communities, and we wanted to bring a way for the voters to get directly involved in what these policies for the Illinois turnaround agenda, what they really mean, and how they'll impact them going forward. And so it's basically a really great opportunity, as you saw at the meeting, for people to interject, to raise their hand and be heard. We take questions live from the audience, and we have representatives like Dan Proft, the local leaders like Dan Patlack and Pat Hughes, who's also a former candidate and founder of the Illinois Opportunity Project, one of our principals, who will go ahead and answer those questions that a lot of people don't really know. With the head-to-head, it's the Republican fault, it's the Democrats' fault, you know, people are tired of that conversation. They want to know what this turnaround agenda is proposing and how that will get Illinois back on track to be world-class once again in job creation, in business development and growth in their communities, in their backyards, and how we can get out of this pension crisis, and how we can look to stop coming back to the taxpayers for more taxes to solve the spending problem that's happening in Springfield.
And actually, we're taking in records amount of revenue, or near record amounts of revenue, and we're still in debt beyond belief.
You're absolutely right.
So, you know, some of it is if you take in X amount of dollars, you should probably only spend X amount of dollars. Not to mention the interest payments. You know, I saw a figure where I don't know if this is the city or the state, but the figures aren't that much different for both. If you look at the budget, close to a quarter of the budget goes to pension, has to go to pension payments these days, and close to another quarter is going for debt service for all the bonds and the loans and all the rest of it. So that leaves you with only 50% of the extraordinarily high taxes that are around to you know, to actually handle operations, which is why things aren't working correctly.
Well, Avi, one of the things that we provide is we don't just have the conversation, we provide information like this booklet that was put together by the Illinois Policy Institute. How will Governor Rauner's budget and turnaround agenda impact you? And inside there, we give really good information on and graphs on exactly what you're just talking about. What are the 10 key facts about the pensions? What are real facts that people need to know? How can the pension crisis be resolved through these types of policy changes? And also going into, again, job creation, manufacturing. So there's a lot of good information in here that people can look to see about even Medicaid and healthcare. So we just want to let people know that if you're informed, then you can help have those conversations with other friends and neighbors, other business leaders in your community. your legislators. It helps you to connect with them directly and say, here's why I support the turnaround agenda. Here's why I support you acting now to take care of this pension crisis in Illinois, or to take care of getting jobs coming and businesses coming back to Illinois.
No, that would be great, because right now businesses are jumping just over the border to Wisconsin, big industrial park just north of the border, to Indiana, to Iowa, whose businesses are growing at a really terrific rate compared to Illinois, which is dropping, and more people left the state of Illinois last year, according to the moving companies, than any other state.
It's true. One of the things that we talk about in the turnaround discussion is what can be done, what are the solutions? And we talk about capping local property tax rates to provide business owners with long-term certainty. There's not a lot of certainty in Illinois right now, which is one of the reasons there is a mass exodus of individuals and businesses to places like Indiana and Wisconsin, Tennessee.
Yeah, my next door neighbor just moved to South Bend. Great guy, but it was too expensive to live here.
Well, and one of the other reasons is we are not giving a friendly business climate here in Illinois, Avi. So one of the things our listeners and in your audience and the audiences that we're talking to across the state need to realize is there are real solutions. We can make exempt business-to-business transactions from sales taxation, which causes harmful tax pyramiding and also encourages business to locate here, because they're going to see that tax-friendly local areas that will revitalize our local economies. And then there's that big right to work legislation that needs to be passed. And that is probably one of the toughest ones, because a lot of those that are dependent on jobs that would prevent right to work legislation from passing here are advocating to oppose it. And then it starts to become this war instead of what's in the best interest of people that live in Illinois as a whole.
Well, the labor unions are the largest contributor to so much of the Illinois legislature. They're just towing the line.
Well, I think we saw an article recently in the Chicago Tribune, I believe, that talked about where money comes from. Or I apologize, I don't think it is the Chicago Tribune, but it was in a recent article that talked about where Ronner gets his contributions from. And if you really want to look at where, follow the money, let's look at Michael Madigan, Speaker of the House. Let's look at Cullerton. So let's look at the Senate leader and see where that money is really coming from. And then you're going to find out real quick who these policies that they're promoting over the last decade and so are really supporting their special interests.
Very much so, and they have a unique combination of being drenched with money from the labor unions and the few businesses that seem to be thriving. So giving money to them does pay off. 1 minute warning.
Oh, good. Well, like Dan Proft says, nobody's against teachers. Nobody's against police and firemen. We're not against, nobody is saying we don't like them. We want to resolve this issue to protect them and do what's in the best interest of everyone here in the state of Illinois.
One of the points somebody made at the meeting I went to of the Illinois Opportunity Project last Thursday, I believe it was that a lot of the police and fire realize that there's a problem and they're willing to sit down and negotiate. But the unions have been so inflexible, and you're dealing with people with rocks in their head in Springfield. And that's definitely a problem.
Well, Avi, I'd like to read this.
We've only got 15 seconds.
That's fine. Last night's event in Huntley was well attended and was very informative. We need to stop looking at everything that happens in Illinois as a zero-sum game. If one group or another loses, the turnaround agenda acknowledges that only way to grow Illinois is to break the stranglehold of the status quo. And this will take bold action, not nibbling around the edges. And the turnaround agenda is a great start. And that was one of, like yourself, an attendee that came to the policy forum.
Danielle Rowe, Illinois Opportunity Project. We'll get you back again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Sunny.